Earthquake. Earthquakes are mainly caused by the movement of the tectonic plates, either because they grind against each other or because they move away, which is why they're much more common in places near the edges of tectonic plates. About 90% of the world's earthquakes, including the biggest ones, happen in the Ring of Fire, which is a tectonic belt that contains countries like Japan, New Zealand, and Indonesia. Earthquake's intensity is measured using seismic magnitude scales, with the most intense earthquake ever being the Great Chilean Earthquake in 1960, which reached a magnitude of 9.5. The deadliest earthquake ever, however, was the 1556 Shanty earthquake, which killed more than 830,000 people. There are also many types of earthquakes, such as the megathrust earthquake, which happens when one tectonic plate is forced underneath another, and which is the same type of earthquake as the 10 largest ones recorded. It's important to point out that an earthquake is the most likely natural disaster to trigger other natural disasters, especially tsunamis, landslides, volcanic eruptions, and floods. Tsunami. Unlike normal waves caused by wind or tides, a tsunami is generated by the displacement of water from earthquakes, landslides, or volcanic eruptions. In deep oceans, tsunamis can travel over 500 miles per hour, with wavelengths up to 120 miles. When they reach shallow waters, they slow down, but their height increases. A dangerous effect called drawback occurs when ocean water suddenly pulls back, exposing the seafloor, often misleading people into approaching the shore. In Japan, ancient tsunami stones mark the highest historical tsunami levels to warn future generations. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami was one of the deadliest natural disasters in history, killing or missing at least 230,000 people in 14 countries. Volcanic eruptions. A volcano is simply a rupture in the crust of Earth that allows lava, volcanic ash, and gases to escape from a magma chamber below the surface. They are mostly found on tectonic plate edges, and because most of Earth's plate boundaries are underwater, most volcanoes are found underwater. It's also why the Ring of Fire contains between 750 to 915 active or dormant volcanoes, which is around 2/3 of the world total. If a large eruption happened, it would affect atmospheric temperature, as ash and droplets of sulfuric acid obscure the sun and cool Earth, causing a volcanic winter. There are many types of volcanoes, but the most feared one is the supervolcano, which is a volcano that has experienced one or more eruptions that produced huge amounts of volcanic deposits. The most famous active supervolcano is the Yellowstone caldera in the US. Fortunately, their eruptions are really rare, as only 4 are currently known from the last million years, but if one were to happen, it would cause incredible damage. The deadliest eruption was the 1815 Mount Tambora eruption in Indonesia, with a death toll between 71,000 and 250,000 people. It was so bad that it created global climate changes, causing the year 1816 to be called the year without a summer in the northern hemisphere. Livestock died and crops failed, resulting in the worst famine of the century. Hail. Hail happens when ice balls fall from the sky. They're created when strong winds in a storm lift raindrops high into the sky where it is very cold, making the drops freeze into ice balls. As they get blown around, more ice layers build up on them, making them bigger until they become too heavy and fall to the ground as hailstones. They are not the same as ice pellets or graupel. For example, ice pellets generally fall in cold weather, while hail growth is greatly inhibited during low surface temperatures. Hail is most common during thunderstorms and in places like the Hail Alley in the US. When you cut a hailstone in half, you can often see layers like those in an onion. These layers show how many times the hailstone was lifted and fell inside the storm cloud. The worst disasters caused by hailstorms happened in Germany and Australia, with damages of around $2 billion. Landslide. Landslides are powerful and often sudden movements of large amounts of rock, soil, and debris down a slope. They can happen everywhere, even though they're more likely in areas with steep slopes, loose soil, or where there has been a lot of rain. Big landslides, if they hit water, can generate tsunamis or even mega tsunamis. The deadliest landslide in history happened in China, where an earthquake initiated 675 big landslides that killed 200,000 people. Tornado. There are different types of tornadoes, like the multiple vortex tornado, which has 2 or more vortices rotating about their own axes while revolving around a common center. Most tornadoes have wind speeds less than 110 miles, are about 250 across, and travel a few miles before dissipating. The most extreme tornadoes have wind speeds over 300 miles per hour, can be more than 2 miles in diameter, and stay on the ground for over 62 miles. The most known rating system is the Enhanced Fujita Scale, EF scale, where an EF0 tornado only damages trees, while an EF5 can rip buildings off foundations and deform skyscrapers. Tornadoes often develop from supercell thunderstorms, which contain a rotating area up in the atmosphere. A tornado begins when increase in rainfall drags at an area of quickly descending air known as the real flank downdraft, which accelerates when it approaches the ground. The United States experiences the most tornadoes, averaging 1,200 per year, especially in Tornado Alley. The deadliest tornado in the U.S. happened in 1925, when the tri-state tornado traveled through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, killing at least 751 people and causing extensive damage over 219 miles. Hurricane. A hurricane is a rapidly rotating storm system system, continuously rotating around a low-pressure center, which causes stormy weather across a large area. They are not to be confused with tornadoes, even though both are types of cyclones. To be considered hurricanes, they need to achieve 1-minute maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. They form over warm ocean waters, usually when sea surface temperatures are at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit. One of the deadliest hurricanes in U.S. history is Hurricane Katrina, which struck the Gulf Coast, particularly New Orleans, in 2005, causing over 1,800 deaths and $125 billion in damage. Cold wave. A cold wave is a rapid fall in temperature within a 24-hour period that requires increased protection for agriculture, industry, commerce, and people. It poses danger not only through frostbite and hypothermia, but also to livestock and crops. If a cold wave is accompanied by heavy and persistent snow, grazing animals may be unable to reach needed food and die of hypothermia or starvation. They can also cause damage by making poorly insulated water pipelines freeze. Populations usually require more fuel and energy during this time, even though the generation of electrical power may fail due to freezing water needed for hydroelectricity. Counterintuitively, fires become more of a hazard during extreme cold, as water mains may break and firefighting becomes difficult. Also, the air during a cold wave is denser and thus contains more oxygen, making fires burn more intensely. One of the only things that can stop fires during cold waves is snow. Avalanche. There are two main types of avalanches. Slab avalanches, made of tightly packed snow triggered by the collapse of an underlying weak snow layer. Loose snow avalanches, made of looser snow. After being set off, avalanches accelerate rapidly and grow as they capture more snow in what's called the snowball effect. They can be triggered by natural causes or by human activities like skiing or snowmobiles, but contrary to popular belief, they can't be triggered by loud sounds. The worst avalanche ever happened in 1970 in Peru, when an earthquake caused an avalanche so big that it destroyed the city of Yungay and 10 nearby villages, causing 30,000 deaths. Heatwave. A heatwave is a prolonged period of excessively hot weather that usually lasts days or weeks and is usually accompanied by high humidity levels. They form when a high-pressure area in the atmosphere remains over an area for a long time, trapping heat near the Earth's surface. They impact the economy, especially agriculture, cause crop failures, increase the risk of wildfires, and lead to widespread electricity outages because more air conditioning is used. One of the deadliest heat waves in recent history was the 2003 European heat wave, which caused an estimated 70,000 deaths. Flooding. Human changes like deforestation, wetland removal, or poor flood control can increase flooding. Climate change also worsens floods as sea levels rise, threatening coastal cities like Venice. While rivers provide fertile soil and transport routes, they also pose serious flood risks. Floods can spread waterborne diseases like cholera, hepatitis A and E, not only through contact, but also through contamination of water supplies. Respiratory diseases increase since flooding can cause chronically wet houses and mold growth. The worst floods happened in 1931 in China, killing 2 to 4 million people, most from long-term effects like famine and disease. A cholera epidemic the following year caused another 32,000 deaths. Wildfire. Some natural forests actually depend on wildfires for clearing dead material and allowing new growth. To prevent large wildfires, prescribed burns are used. Wildfires are most common in California, Siberia, British Columbia, and Australia, where wet periods create fuel followed by drought and heat. There are 4 types of fires: ground fires, crawling fires, ladder fires, crown fires. Wildfires can form pyrocumulus clouds, which are clouds created by heat that sometimes help extinguish the same fire. The deadliest wildfire happened in 1871, when the Peshtigo fire burned 1.2 million acres and killed between 1,500 and 2,500 people. Drought. A drought is a period of drier than normal conditions that can last for days, months, or years. They are more likely in the tropics, and when they occur, they increase the likelihood of wildfires. Heat waves can worsen droughts, causing water shortages, crop failure, and mass migrations. One of the most severe droughts in U.S. history was the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, which affected the Great Plains, caused massive dust storms, and displaced thousands of families.